And we will have it. Okay, it is 6:30 and we have another public hearing tonight. This one has to deal with short-term rentals, and we do have a quorum. And what I would like to do is call this meeting to order, and I think our first person up to speak to us is going to be Mayor Gastineau. And you should have a copy of the proposed ordinance with you that you can review. Yes, sir, Mayor.
Thank you. If you go to the next slide, please. Yeah, this is a proposed ordinance that is before you. Of course, the ordinance will be approved or disapproved by the City Council, but because this is a change in the subdivision regulation, it comes to you first. So the ordinance requiring registration of non-owner occupied short-term rentals, facilities within the city limits of Ward, providing for a permit requirement, rules for operating short-term rentals, and for penalties and fines and for other purposes. Next slide. In a nutshell, this ordinance, and if you've been watching the news, short-term rental issues across the state. There's big problems other places, and we are just trying to get ahead of the game. And we got some short-term rentals in the city of Ward and around the area, but in the city of Ward, we've had a couple of them. Haven't had any problems that I'm aware of, but there's always a possibility. In our ordinance, we've designed two different types of short-term rental. The owner-occupied, in other words, it's your house. If you want to rent a room because you have an empty room, you rent it to whomever, that's on you. Go for it. No regulation, no permit required, because you live there. But if you don't live in your home, or if it's owned by a corporation, which a lot of them are, it's a non-owner occupied, it requires in this ordinance to be safety inspected, a lot of different things, fire inspections, there's a permit, there's a fee for the permit, there's also a fee for gross revenues because it's a business.
Yes.
It absolutely is. And penalties for not obtaining or maintaining a permit. And probably more responsible there, the biggest thing is a responsible party has to be identified. That responsible party has to respond within 60 minutes. If we would call them at 2 o'clock in the morning because there's a loud party going on at the house by short-term rental people. This is an effort to regulate that, permit that, and put fees on it. That's pretty much it.
Thank you. Any questions?
Is there any way to make sure that the owner is a resident of Ward or in the county at least?
You mean the non-owner occupied?
Right, to like restrict from.
No, because you could have actually corporations that come in and buy, and they are doing that in a
I
lot
know,
of
that's
resort areas.
my concern, yeah.
Right, you could not, that'd be, no, you couldn't do that.
Got it.
That'd be discriminatory, I suppose, if you restricted it to actual people that lived in the city. But, good question. Any other questions from y'all?
I have no questions. Anybody else have any questions? All right.
I yield it to whomever.
Anyone in the audience have any comments or questions about the ordinance that the mayor has just presented?
I do, sorry.
Yes.
Kathy, y'all. Even though I'm Oakland Grove and that's why I was here, I think this is a I'm Cheryl Ekman, by the way.
Okay.
I think this is a wonderful idea. Our neighborhood, in the beginning, we've been there about 1.5 years, going on 2 years. And in the beginning, it was mainly homeowners that bought and homeowners that lived there. And as more houses went up, it's become more and more rentals. Just the other day, the rental next door, the grass was so tall, it was ridiculous. And we did some investigation and found out the owner of the home and got in touch with the owner of the home to say your tenant needs to cut their grass. It got done, but we shouldn't have had to do that as a neighbor that owns their home.
Well,
So-
you can call code enforcement also here at
Yeah,
the...
and you know, I mean, what's his first name? Because I can't remember. Oh, so the other guy's not there anymore.
Jason's gone, but Michael's our
Okay.
new code enforcement
We've dealt
officer.
with Jason in the past with some issues with one certain neighbor. And he's come out and addressed it best he could. So that's something we can do if the grass is like way too tall, like snake tall. We can call code enforcement and handle it that way. Because we just found out who owned the place and called them.
Well, you could be like me, and all of a sudden I'm meeting the mayor as I'm out there, and I go, "What are you doing out on Magnolia?" And he goes, "I'm a code enforcement officer this time." He was making sure they were mowing the yards too.
He was wonderful for us.
I mean,
So he's a
we
man of many
understand.
hats, most definitely. But we also, myself, my husband, and my mother, we own rental houses in Jacksonville. Now, we consider ourselves to be very good landlords. We want our houses taken care of. We want our neighbors around us with our rental person to be happy. And so we're very proactive with making sure things are done, that there's not a bunch of trash laying around.
Right.
Others aren't like that. So I think this is
But
a
we're
wonderful
gonna, okay,
idea.
yeah, well, I
So-
want to stick to short-term rentals and not year-long leases. Okay.
Oh, so what's
yeah.
short-term rental then?
90 days or less.
Oh, sorry, I thought y'all were talking about, to me, a short-term rental is a year, but, oh,
No.
cool. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
To answer your question, yes, it is like an Airbnb. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. And Airbnb regulates their own, but people don't have to go to Airbnb. They can
That's
just do their
right.
own thing. Even if Airbnb is involved, they don't get all the information. But at 2 o'clock in the morning, and this has been documented in other places, when there's a large party or people are urinating in the next door yard, and you call the cops and they don't even live there or whatever, there's nothing, you can't go back on them or anybody else. This gives us the power to regulate, fine them, and in portion of that, I can shut them down, I can disconnect their water.
There you go.
So,
Okay. Any other comments? Thank you very much, Mayor. No more comments? All right, I guess this public meeting is now closed, and we will reconvene at 7 o'clock.